I did want to ask you guys a question about the Packers because I was just thinking about where they stand right now. And overall, I had them winning the NFC North, but I feel like most fans, most people predicting next year, for sure are going to have the Lions. A lot of talk about the Bears up and coming. The Vikings, like we said, just all about J.J. McCarthy. And Green Bay's kind of come into this muddy territory where last year there was so much hype around them, how young they were, the playoff run against San Francisco. But this year it kind of feels like everyone's down on them a bit. And especially when you talk about the receiver position. Like, remember last year we were saying 4 receivers, maybe 2 of them can play like wide receiver ones. This is one of the most talented rooms in the league. Now Christian Watson's banged up. Romeo Doubs has had his issues. Jaden Reed, everyone says, feels more like a number 2 than a number 1, but he's the best of the group. And Dontavian Wick saying, where are you? What are you doing for me? So that group too kind of feels like a bigger representation of the broader Packers team. Like, is this team starting, and the receivers, is it starting to be underrated as a potential playoff threat?
Well, that's the thing. You just go back to a few minutes ago. I thought that they had like 9 wins and it was 11.
Yeah.
So last year, we spent the entire offseason saying that this team was going to win 15 games and be the number 1 seed in the NFC. Mm-hmm. And everyone was drinking the Kool-Aid. And now the reason they're not, including myself, is this team is still very good. They won 11 games and it didn't seem like they were all that great. Everything everyone looks at is them losing in the first round to Philly. And they wanted to go beyond.
And remember the way they ended the year too, losing to Chicago for the first time in 11 games.
Then losing in Philly.
Losing to the Vikings, getting crushed before that late comeback.
Yeah. And that's what people remember about Green Bay. And now this year it's different. I think now everyone is like what I said before. They finished like 3 games behind Detroit. They went 0-2 against Detroit. Jordan Love was a bit injured. He's healthier now. Good for them, but I think now they're hesitant. Like, until that they can do it, let's pump the brakes a bit. Mm-hmm. I think that's what it is. They're still a good team. They're a playoff team.
Professor.
The thing about this Packers team, this is a cycle that you end up on with a whole bunch of teams. Is you're young, you get a bunch of hype, everybody expects you to take the next step forward. You have a disappointing year, everybody forgets about you, and then the year later you come back and are quite good. And I mean, like we've been saying, winning 11 games in one of the hardest divisions in the history of football, the Packers were almost perfect outside of the division last year.
Yeah.
They were 1-5 in the division.
They lost to 3
games.
teams, right?
Yeah,
outside the Bears game, they lost to the Vikings, Lions, and Eagles twice.
Yeah,
so they lost to 3 teams.
The Eagles won the Super Bowl. Yeah. So this Packers team was very, very good last year. Now, I think there's a reason the Packers continue to be connected to all this talent, right? They were connected to Devontae Adams. They're connected to Tyreek Hill now, which I think is not going to happen. They were connected to T. Higgins. Like, there's all these rumors around because the Packers feel like a team where a little bit of talent infusion would take them to the next level. But the fact that they haven't added elite talent to the team shouldn't take away from the fact that this was one of the 10 or so best teams in football last year. They were one of the youngest teams in football. They're going to continue to get a little bit older, a little bit more experienced. And while I think they haven't made the moves that will push them to a Super Bowl, this team should be very good next year. 11, 12, even 13 wins is not out of the question.
It felt like last season, outside of something catastrophic happening, like the Jordan Love knee injury in week 1, it felt like it was sort of the floor for what this Packers team could have been, with Jordan Love getting hurt, with the D-line and the receiving room not having someone step up the way they were supposed to or expected to. It seemed like they performed at probably like the lowest expectations that we could have had coming into last year. Again, still an 11-win team, still a playoff team, but that does leave room for optimism, where I think a lot of Packers fans are finding that optimism now, where at the end of the year it was catastrophic. But the rest of the world really hasn't caught up there. And it's interesting because I was listening to Andy Herman talk about this the other day. He was going on about why the weapons in Green Bay are better than you might think. And he was saying, we have 2 wide receiver 2s and top 15 tight end, top 5 running back, another wide receiver 3 and Dontavian Wicks, who's good. He's like, we're really missing that alpha receiver. Yes, but overall, this offense performed well last year and it's very good. And he was making the comparison to other Super Bowl champion teams where, like, Mahomes led the Chiefs without great weapons all the time. Brady led the Patriots on so many teams without great weapons all the time. Even the Rams that won the Super Bowl, Cooper Kupp, and then a lot of weapons that weren't great around him. And I was thinking, like, okay, and I agree with Andy on that front, but the key here is, yes, and he acknowledged this, it was Mahomes, Brady, Stafford, like playing prime football. And to me, it says, okay, we can say the Packers are fine at receiver and their offense is fine, but the best chance, like the only chance this team has is for Jordan Love to elevate up to that next level, where it's no longer the team elevating Jordan. He needs to elevate the Packers. And there's a lot of pressure on Jordan Love. Ziggy, I know you mentioned this in our chat. You didn't get into it, but you were saying as well, Jordan Love, like the Packers' moves this offseason put a lot of pressure on Love to play at the level that he's paid to play at. And if he plays there, we saw it. Like, we didn't see wow moments last year, but when they went on the deep playoff run, we saw a $55 million quarterback, and you saw how good the Packers could be. And last year, you didn't get that. A lot of it due to the injuries, I'd say. But he needs, like, there's pressure on Jordan Love to perform at that level, and he's the key. And it's kind of obvious, but I'm not hearing a lot of people say it. Like, he needs to step up.
Yeah, I mean, also, I totally forgot that they only lost to 3 teams last year.
It's crazy, right?
And those 3 teams being the 3 best teams in the NFC. And they were right there probably at number 4. To beat Detroit, to beat Philly, to really get yourself to that level and beat those teams and become a team who, in my eyes, can go to a Super Bowl, it's not the talent. It is Love playing like Jalen Hurts and even like how freaking Sam Darnold played last year up until the final game of the regular season. But yeah, taking that next step and elevating the guys around him. I do think this roster is good enough. I don't think last year he was necessarily good enough.
Yeah, and the Packers are placing the bet that that's going to happen, right? We saw a lot of receivers change hands this offseason. Guys like Devontae Adams, Christian Kirk, DK Metcalf, to a lesser extent, guys like Deebo Samuel. Like, there were plenty of wide receivers available this offseason that they could have gotten, that they could have afforded to sign. They'd rather save the cap and spend their money elsewhere. So I don't think that's an unreasonable bet. Like you said, Paul, you are paying Jordan Love to be the guy. And if you need to invest hugely around him to be the guy, this roster will never be what it's supposed to be. But it's a big bet on Jordan Love. So I think I said at the beginning of this offseason, right? What the Packers do this year will give you a lot of insight into how they view Jordan Love. If they're 100% sure Jordan Love's the guy, you can invest big time knowing you can restructure his contract. They didn't do that, but they also didn't add any big pieces around him. So it looks like they think it's likely he's going to take the next step forward, but they don't think this is a situation where they need to go all in 100% right away.
Yeah, and you could still hope, like they're still hoping in Green Bay. Oh, could Lucas Van Ness take that jump that we expected? Can Jaden Reed or Romeo Doubs take another jump here? But really,
I know which of those bets I'm taking.
Yeah, like the one that I think is the most likely to happen, and the one that you need to happen is Jordan Love. And if he does it, then then anything on top of that is just like the cherry on top. Now we're talking about a team that's filling all the holes that they have. If in addition to Love, you have some other guys taking a step forward. But this is what I've been saying all offseason, is that in Green Bay, there are a lot of dudes that need to look in the mirror and say, I have to be better if we want to win. If we want to win the Super Bowl, because it's a really good division. We just got talking about how all these teams could win. And it's a really good conference. It's a tough conference. So, like everyone knows Green Bay has a shot. But, yeah, their quarterback, I do think the injuries... People are saying that I'm giving too much leeway to Jordan Love with the injuries. I thought it was obvious, clear that he was hurt last year to the point where it impacted his play.
And next year's really your window, right? Like, I don't think many people realize just how many high snap players are free agents for the Packers next year, right? So entering in next year, you've got Rasheed Walker and Zach Tom entering free agency. Quay Walker, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, Kingsley Enagbare. Like, many big-time contributors for this team. Even Sean Ryan's a restricted free agent. Like, there are a lot of players who could be walking away from this team next year. And while maybe you aren't thrilled with the way that Walker and Tom have played, they've played plenty good. Maybe you're not thrilled with Quay Walker, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson. but those are guys that you have to replace when they leave. I definitely, Jordan Love has to get it done next year. It's that simple. He needs to show that he is the guy. And if he can't do it next year, I expect the Packers to start looking into other options at quarterback.
Oh,
I'm not saying he needs to win. I'm not saying he needs to win the Super Bowl, but at a certain point, like they're only tied to Jordan Love for 2 more seasons.
What do you mean?
really
You mean like if they miss the playoffs? Is that what you're talking about?
If he doesn't show that he can be the guy next year, if he has another middling season, I know last year was good, but if he doesn't take that step forward, the Packers are expecting, if it looks like it's more 2024, on his contract, that is not going to be good enough to win a Super Bowl. You need Jordan Love to play better to win a Super Bowl if you're going to be paying him like one of the highest paid QBs in the NFL. That's true.
Well, look, that's the problem that the Dolphins, the Jaguars, a lot of these teams that are paying a lot of money are having.
What he needs to give them is what Jaden Daniels gave the Commanders last year.
That boost?
Yeah. That's what Jordan Love needs to do.
And he's getting paid to do it.
And he's expected.
Yeah. No, he can. Well, that's what I'm saying is like, I'm going through my predictions here and I picked the Packers to win the North. The reason I think they're underrated is because I picked Green Bay to win the North. And in my head, I'm thinking to myself, man, like that feels wrong. Like I should probably have Detroit there. The Packers are good enough to win like it wouldn't be surprising at all. If you look at them on paper, they're a really good team. And that's why I think if anyone said the Packers are winning the North, I bet there would be pushback by a lot of people. And that's why I'm like, all right, yeah, this is an underrated team. And maybe it's better for them to have that motivation, try and come from under the radar. But I also don't want Lions fans listening to this. Like the Lions, I think, are the best, if not the second best roster in maybe in football. Like they're very good. They're very, very
What were you going
good.
to say in all sports?
Well, I was going to debating like the conference, the conference of the league. But the Lions are an excellent team. If the Lions won 14 games again, I'd be surprised, but I wouldn't like be floored. They're awesome.
Yeah, but the Packers had opportunities to beat them last year. I think the gap is a little bit less than people think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was a game-winning field goal in Detroit, right?
Yeah, and it was on that fourth. Remember they had the 4th and inches play?
Yeah,
it was amazing from Campbell.
And the November 3rd game was like prime time injured Jordan Love.
Do you remember reacting to that game? And people were
when they got murked,
yeah, when LaFleur comes out and says Jordan Love can't move.
He said Love can't walk, and Packers fans. Like I love Packers fans. But it was really funny listening to them at the end of the game. Like, we got to go Malik the rest of the year, and I was like, he can't walk, guys. He literally can't walk.
I mean, picking Green Bay to win the North is not like taking the Saints to win.
No, it's not crazy.
I
have them winning it at 11-6. Like it's not, it's
and Detroit they could lose 5 or 6 of those road games.
Yeah, it's the North is really a really good division, but they're not head and shoulders better than everyone else, where they can go and waltz into Baltimore and Philadelphia. Like they're not, those are tough games.
Like I'll actually probably pick most of those home teams in those games.
Yeah, but again, once come playoff time, I think that the North is good enough to go on, have a little run with maybe 3 teams in.